December 12th, 2024. Yeah, Rathna would have been 90, right? And well, he left us in June, but I want to say he really never left us. His presence is always here. His presence, when you think about ethically, morally, intellectually, spiritually, his presence is always with us. I never knew Rathna as a youngster. I mean, he was gone to the States while I was growing up, and when he got back, I left for the States. So we only know each other as adults. And as adults, he's always been like an inspiration and a guiding force and a person to go to for advice and remarkable. Our relationship, has been, of course, brotherly and lovely, but it's always been one of admiration of his capabilities in all regards, whether it's intellectual or particularly moral. I still go to him, even after he's gone. I still go to him for advice. I recently had to make a life decision, and I had said to myself for many, many days, what would Rathna do in this case? What would Rathna do? And finally I said, I know what he would do, but let me get confirmation. So I called Ajit and said, what would Dad do in this situation? And Ajit, as wise as his father, gave me advice, and I took it.
When he started working with All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, I wasn't even born. But all my childhood, I have memories of going and sitting, being part of the institute, watching him and a lot of his students who later became colleagues do speech therapies. I had a lot of friends who were deaf, and I grew up without realizing or even knowing that a history was being made in that institute. Much later, when the Ali Avarjung Institute was formed, even there, we saw the building come up brick by brick, every syllabus being drafted, created, a whole range of professionals taking shape, becoming part of our family. All through those times, we never realized that what was happening there was actually the creation of a discipline within the country. The same passion with which Appa went for his camps, he did when he was guiding his PhD students, when he was counseling parents, when he was talking to children. And he always made duty his first call. And that is one of the things he has in a way left for me as a legacy in terms of my own work. Appa was also a board member of the organization I work with. And throughout our work, he would give us insights, feedback, appreciation, guidance, but always making it very clear that work comes first. The same love he took to his theatre. He got into theatre as a very young person, early days in school and later in college, and many, many decades later, in the same college where he studied, I too was part of creating a theatre group, which he was so joyful about. And his theatre group and our theatre group almost dovetailed and again created some kind of a new theatre history in Maharaja's College. Theatre was something we grew up, Ajit and I. There were conversations about theatre all around us. We would come home after the play, sit down, discuss about the play, laugh about it, enjoy it, and we would just fall asleep sometime listening to these conversations. And theatre was linked to literature, to music, to reading, to writing, and we grew up in a family where all of this was a course of every day. As a father, actually father and mother, the home they created for us was filled with all of these insights, but most of all, it was filled with a lot of freedom to make choices. the choice in terms of our profession, our hobby, our friendships, our politics, our spirituality. We always had the freedom to make our choices. And we took our own pathways, my brother and I, and then later our spouses, our children. But all of us always had a listening ear with him. And one of the things he would always tell us as children was he had this acronym called AFIN, AFINN, which was a short form for saying a fuss is not necessary. So anytime we actually crossed the path and got a little agitated, he would come and say, AFIN, AFIN. So immediately we knew what he was talking about. Our home was full of a lot of these short forms of love, and we grew up without even realizing what a wonderful childhood it has been.
Dr. Rathna, he was a legend for his students, for his patients, for his friends and the country. Those who came across whatever, for whatever reasons, just cannot ignore him. I was too fortunate to have been taught directly by a person like Dr. Rathna. His teachings like, I don't know, I don't understand, I don't agree, are too difficult to digest, too difficult to follow. But that's what has made us what we are. We are really grateful that God has created a person like Dr. Rathna to be a very unconventional person, deal with disability, rehabilitation, the education, the research, the activism, the policy making, the institution building, and what not.
I was a student of Dr. Rathna for my undergraduate degree, and later I was his PhD student, and I think I was the last student guided by him for the PhD degree. I want to say that it's very difficult to get a teacher like him. He was the teacher, well-wisher, father, guide, mentor. You can name anything that you want to have association. He was that for most of us. When we were supposed to have him as the teacher, teaching the normancy aspects, we were familiar with his name as Rathna, and we were expecting a female teacher to come. We were so surprised that it's a lady, but a man is coming and talking to us. And later we came to know that it is Dr. Rathna only. And we had such nice classes, and it was like you can ask him questions, you can argue with him, and he would never take it otherwise. He was always helpful, be it the rehabilitation of the hearing impaired or education of the hearing impaired. He would have a very wide perspective, and whatever we talk to him, ask him, argue, he would have answers for that and accommodate all our views.
He has left his indelible mark in the field of speech and hearing science, the hearing impaired, the disability rehabilitation, and he has created people like me who think whatever we do or practice, it is because of his early teaching, his early mentoring.
He was my teacher, my guide, mentor, and my boss when I worked in Bombay. I met Dr. Rathna in 1976 when I joined the program in speech and hearing. I saw a person in a big chamber wearing a kurta pajama. I was surprised, but he spoke affectionately to all the students, addressed them with respect marker always in Kannada, which was not usual in Mysore. We were confused when we joined the program as to what we would be in the future. We didn't know much about the field, but he made us comfortable. Then as the days passed, in 1976 when I joined, the Institute Day was coming up and there were sports activities being held. I just entered, gave my name for carom, table tennis. Later on learned that my first opponent was Dr. Rathna. Later on, the director of the institute. I was young. I was not a good player either. I was scared because I didn't know how to interact with the heads of the institutions. I played my game. If I remember correctly, I won the match. Dr. Rathna congratulated me, made me comfortable, spoke good words, and got me coffee also. He was such a friendly, noble person. Later on, we had to go for a camp after our first semester. We were not good because we had not picked up the skills yet. We had a few of our seniors who were volunteering. They also accompanied us. And we had food in one of the restaurants. I got a masala dosa with a big piece of potato, not cooked well. So I kept it aside and ate some portion of the dosa and left it. Dr. Rathna, who was also eating with us, saw this, immediately advised me how food should not be wasted, especially in our country when people were dying of hunger. In those days, of course, that was one of the earliest lessons of life for me.
And we had gone to so many camps and also lot of speech and hearing conferences. And those days, it was such a nice thing that he would travel with us in the train or in the bus, and that made us rich with so many experiences about education of the hearing impaired. And one thing I have to tell is that the skills that he inculcated about counseling the parents and the patients, and I don't think none of us would reach to the level of expertise that he had or he had expected any one of us to be. He was a very, very kind person. So I have seen many examples of his kindness, but I would like to quote one which had really touched my heart. One of my classmates, he got admission to medicine after completing first year of bachelor's examination. So he went and told Dr. Rathna that he's been offered a seat in Mysore Medical College, but at that time his dad was not in Mysore to pay off the amount and get his originals back. I saw Dr. Rathna take money from his pocket and told Krishna Prasad, you immediately go pay this and take all your originals and get admission to the Mysore Medical College.
It was in 1970. I was in Mysore as a student of BSc first year. His teaching was special and unique, and he brought American standards to Indian soil. We were blessed to have him. His pioneering work took this field to greater heights. As a director of two national institutes, he developed the infrastructure facilities quite well. In spite of all his credits, he was very simple and approachable. Recollecting an event shared by his friends, I want to quote, when Dr. Rathna returned from America to India, they went to receive him in the airport. They expected him to come with lot of gadgets, but he was with many books and academic material. That reflected his vision and mission in India. In 2015, I was happy to have him as my guest in my house. That gave an opportunity for both the families to know each other well. Last year, we had the opportunity to see his drama in Mysore. It was quite exciting and memorable.
Dr. Rathna and his family and our relationship with him is the best could have happened in our life. I think there is a difference between a teacher and a guru. I think Dr. Rathna was a guru more than a teacher, because I feel he was molding his close students and friends' character. Even he can change the character, may not be directly, but what is he setting himself as an example. He is very simple, and it's very simple that I think he was all the time as a director. He was just driving a cycle and he was wearing a simple dress, and his eating is very simple, and his approach is also very simple.
It was very common for us to use she can't do it, he cannot do it. He would always correct us. He doesn't do it, or I don't do it, rather than saying I cannot do it or I can't do it. And it is true in all our walks of life. When we make statements, there are many things that we can do. When we try, we can definitely do it. I have such great experiences with him. When I took up my job in Bombay, NIHH, he joined there as director of the institute, which meant he was our boss. And I spent a lot of time, around 3 years. He would always be the first one to wish on our birthdays. It's such a great feeling to get his blessings. He never complained anything in life or what he didn't have, or that's another lesson that we have learned.
Till his demise, we were happy to have a small group wherein we had a group chat with him, and it was memorable and we enjoyed it. I value him as a teacher, mentor. I admire all his services.
And as students, many times we would have gone to his house, and Madam Lata was always very hospitable, and we have had so many days lunch in his house. And when I was doing my PhD, I would go for corrections of my manuscript, and many a times he never let me call my husband and pick me from there. He would drop me home, and it was such a kind and great gesture from a teacher and guide a student would ever think of. I'm very, very indebted to be his student, and trying to imbibe his ideals and views, teachings in life. I think it's a great opportunity that was given to me in the profession.
We'll miss him, but we won't miss him. He's right with us. His inspiration is, and his love for his family and the old, speech and hearing and drama and sports, cricket and tennis, and he was so knowledgeable about so many things. I love him. I will continue to love him. I'll continue to take guidance from him, and I'll continue to talk to him every so often. And he talks back. He talks back, and he's left what a legacy, and legacy of his children. And I mean, he was active to the last day. I mean, he went to Arnav's graduation in Singapore the day before he passed. I mean, wow, active till the end. Wrote a play while he was bedridden. I don't know how he did it. Anyway, what a marvelous, marvelous brother. What a marvelous inspiration. And his love for his family and Lata and will endure, and we will always remember him.
We grew up knowing never to use the term dumb alongside the deaf children or deaf people or people with hearing disabilities. He would always say most of the fact that they couldn't, most of the times the fact that they couldn't speak would be because they couldn't hear. There was no input. So even now when somebody uses deaf and dumb, it sounds extremely jarring and almost disturbing. And I always remember him signing behind his back. He would always do the American signs. As he would be speaking, we could see that he would be signing what he spoke with behind his back. And we kind of grew up signing as well. We would have little sentences which we could sign, my sister Kavita and I. And I wish maybe as a tribute to him, I would like to learn sign language again as an additional language. And again, as a professional, till 2024 Feb ISHACON he attended, and somewhere in October he had 23 he had signed up for ISHACON 24. And usually he takes permission in terms of logistics and support, whether he can travel somewhere, etc. But for this, he had just confirmed, and he just announced it to us that he has confirmed that he's attending the Feb 2024 ISHACON. And I'm so glad he attended all the ISHACONs that he could. So nothing more needs to be said about him as a professional. And of course, everybody knows that ISHACONs are not for the banquets or the glitz and the events. It's mainly he would sit and attend every presentation or oration or every speech or every paper that he could. Probably take notes and come back and read up about the new developments as well. And as a theatre professional, again we saw our house was always abuzz with theatre activities, rehearsals, read-throughs. He would be writing plays, sitting up from 4 in the morning. He was on stage just a few months before he died, and backstage we now know very well not to disturb him. He was completely in the zone. He always is in the zone just prior to a show. We just went and kind of tapped him on his shoulder, kind of wished him luck. And his character required him to be on a wheelchair. So he was completely in the zone. The only thing he asked me was, is the auditorium filling up? Jana barta idara? He asked me. So he was still anxious. He was still, worried about the right things. As a 89-year-old veteran actor, the star actor of amateur Mysore theatre or Kannada theatre itself. So that's about his thoroughness as an actor and his passion for theatre. And as a father, just holding on to a few lessons, I think, would suffice. He would always say, have fun, learn something. Of course, now we've added a return to the family, so the return to that sentence. So now the family goes, have fun, learn something, and return. For every activity, whether we're going to a party or whether we're going to school or an exam, so much so that we use that even when we've gone in for our surgeries and medical treatments, etc., etc. So he would always say, if you're having fun and you're learning something, that's more than enough. And I recollect once he returned from a table tennis tournament. He used to play table tennis, chess, and tennis quite regularly, quite seriously. He came back from a tennis tournament and a table tennis tournament, and then he was very happy with himself. I said, did you win? He says, no, I lost. I said, but you're looking so happy. He says, yeah, I played really well. So that's another lesson. Lessons are plenty. And one of the important things for us now is that he will always say, the living must continue to live. Okay, this he said after we lost a very, very dear, like a brother of mine. And you may notice I'm wearing a Gallaudet shirt in his honor as we approach his 90th anniversary. Keanu Reeves, a Hollywood actor, was asked, Keanu, what do you think happens when we die? And he had said, I just know those who love us will miss us. So I guess I miss him.
When I was very young, I remember asking Appa, what would you like me to call you? Should I call you Appa, Appaji, Daddy, Papa? And he said, as long as you're calling me with love, you can call me Donkey, Katte. That was him.